Rising above the noise. Why Alden Richards should never let negativity define his story with Maine Mendoza. In the world of fame, admiration and criticism often walk side by side. For Alden Richards, this reality is nothing new. Over the years, he has stood in the spotlight not only as a talented actor and host, but also as one half of one of the most beloved tandems in Philippine entertainment alongside Maine Mendoza. Their story, rooted in spontaneity, chemistry, and genuine connection, captured millions of hearts during their rise on Eat Bulaga. But with that kind of love and attention also came something inevitable: criticism, rumors, and people trying to tear down what others deeply cherish. Today, as negative voices once again attempt to question, twist, or even attack the narrative surrounding Alden and Maine, one message stands stronger than ever. Alden Richards should never let negativity affect him, because what he represents and what he has built goes far beyond the opinions of critics. The weight of public judgment. Being in the public eye means living a life constantly observed, interpreted, and sometimes misunderstood. Every word, every gesture, and every silence can be turned into speculation. For Alden Richards, this pressure has been part of his journey since the beginning. As his popularity grew, so did the expectations and, unfortunately, the criticisms. Some question his intentions. Some create narratives that don't exist. Others try to stir conflict where there is none. But the truth is, these voices do not define him. They never have. A connection that spoke for itself. What made the partnership of Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza special was not just the killing moments or the viral fame. It was authenticity. From their earliest interactions, people saw something real, something unforced. It wasn't just acting, it was connection. It was timing. It was the kind of chemistry that cannot be manufactured, no matter how hard anyone tries. And that is exactly why it became so powerful. Because people don't hold on to something for years if it meant nothing. The danger of letting negativity in. Criticism, when constructive, can help a person grow. But destructive negativity, especially the kind fueled by assumptions and malice, serves no purpose except to distract and hurt. If Alden were to let these voices affect him, it would take away from everything he has worked so hard to build. His career, his reputation, his personal growth, his peace of mind. And most importantly, it would shift the focus away from what truly matters, his journey, not other people's opinions. Remaining unaffected is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing what deserves attention. Strength in silence and grace. One of the most admirable qualities of Alden Richards has always been his composure. He does not rush to respond to every accusation. He does not fuel unnecessary drama. He does not allow negativity to dictate his actions. Instead, he responds with silence when needed and with dignity at all times. And in an industry where reactions are often loud and impulsive, that kind of restraint is rare and powerful. Maine Mendoza, a partner in strength. On the other side of the story is Maine Mendoza, who has also faced her share of criticism and pressure. Yet, like Alden, she has grown into someone who understands the importance of boundaries. She has learned when to speak and when to step back. She has chosen growth over noise. She has embraced her own identity beyond public expectations. Together, whether as a tandem or as individuals, Alden and Maine represent something deeper than what critics try to portray. They represent resilience. Fans see the truth. While negativity may be loud, it is not always the majority. There are still countless fans who continue to support Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza, not because of rumors, but because of what they have consistently shown over the years. Respect, kindness, authenticity. These supporters understand that not everything seen online reflects reality. They choose to focus on the positive impact Alden and Maine have made, rather than the negativity that tries to overshadow it. Choosing growth over noise. At this stage in his life and career, Alden stands at a point where his decisions shape not just his future, but also his legacy. And perhaps the most powerful decision he can continue to make is this: to rise above, to focus on his craft, to protect his peace, to value what is real over what is said. Because in the end, Success is not measured by how loudly critics speak, but by how firmly a person stands despite them. A story bigger than criticism. The story of Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza was never meant to be controlled by outsiders. It was shaped by moments, by connection, by something that millions felt. And that kind of story cannot be destroyed by negativity. It can only be misunderstood. Final thoughts. Stay grounded, stay true. As voices continue to rise, some supportive, some critical, one truth remains clear. Alden Richards does not need to prove anything to those who choose to misunderstand him. What matters is who he is, what he stands for, and how he continues to move forward. Because the strongest people are not those who fight every critic, but those who know which battles are not worth fighting at all. And if there is one thing Alden Richards has shown time and time again, it is this. He knows how to stay grounded, even when the world around him tries to shake him. And perhaps the most meaningful part of this journey is not just how Alden Richards handles the noise, but how he continues to grow despite it. Because growth, especially in the public eye, is never easy. It requires patience when people misunderstand you. It requires discipline when distractions try to pull you away from your purpose. And it requires a deep sense of self when the world constantly tries to define you based on incomplete narratives. Yet Alden continues to move forward. Step by step, project by project, quietly proving that consistency speaks louder than controversy. The power of staying focused. In an industry filled with temporary trends and shifting attention, longevity is built on focus. And that is something Alden Richards has consistently demonstrated. Instead of responding to every rumor, he invests his energy in his craft. He challenges himself with roles that push his limits, embraces opportunities that allow him to evolve, and stays committed to the kind of work that reflects his passion. Because at the end of the day, what people remember most is not the noise. It's the work. And Alden understands that. A quiet kind of strength. Strength is often misunderstood. Many think it is about speaking the loudest, defending oneself at every turn, or proving critics wrong in public. But sometimes, real strength is quiet. It is choosing peace over pride. It is choosing silence over unnecessary conflict. It is choosing to protect what matters instead of exposing it to judgment. And in this sense, both Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza have shown a rare kind of strength, one that does not seek validation but simply exists with dignity, letting the story breathe. One of the reasons why people continue to talk about Alden and Maine is because their story was never overexposed. There were no constant explanations, no forced clarifications, no need to define every detail. And because of that, their connection was allowed to breathe, to exist naturally without being boxed into expectations. Sometimes, when people try too hard to explain everything, they lose the magic. But Alden and Maine chose differently. They allowed their story to remain authentic, even if it meant leaving some questions unanswered. The role of true supporters. As the noise continues, the role of true supporters becomes even more important. Because real fans do not fuel negativity. They do not spread baseless rumors. They do not demand explanations out of entitlement. They do not tear down others just to defend the people they admire. Instead, they uplift. They support without pressure. They trust without forcing. They respect without conditions. And for Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza, this kind of support is far more valuable than any trending topic or viral moment. Moving forward without looking back. There comes a point in every journey where looking back becomes less important than moving forward. Not because the past doesn't matter, but because growth requires direction. For Alden, this means continuing to build a life and career that reflects who he is today, not who people expect him to be based on old narratives. It means embracing change. It means letting go of unnecessary burdens. It means choosing progress over pressure. And that is something no amount of negativity can stop. A message that goes beyond showbiz. In many ways, this story is not just about celebrities. It is about anyone who has ever been misunderstood. Anyone who has ever been judged unfairly. Anyone who has ever faced criticism despite doing their best. The journey of Alden Richards reminds people that you don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to prove yourself to everyone. And you certainly don't have to let negativity shape your path. Final reflection: unshaken and unbothered. As time continues to pass and new stories take the spotlight, one thing remains clear. The strength of a person is not measured by how they react to negativity, but by how they rise above it. And Alden Richards has shown, time and time again, that he knows exactly how to do that. Unshaken, focused, and grounded in what truly matters. Because in the end, the voices that try to tear someone down will always fade. But the quiet strength of someone who chooses to rise above, that stays. And that is the kind of story worth remembering.